And you're just in time for Richard Mwenja Exclusive, your only point of call on matters political and governance analysis in this country. And yet again today, we have a thematic concern to address that is of importance to you as a taxpayer and as a Kenyan at large. I'm Richard Mwenja. Welcome on board. Prof is here with me. Prof, greetings. You're well? Today I want to talk about our senior citizens like you, or even those who came before you, who've really put so much for our country. Yeah. Sometimes putting their name in the line. Some have actually succumbed to the revolution, paid by blood and sweat and tears. Let's talk about them. There's a feeling that Kenya's never really honored their heroes well enough, and more especially those who fought for independence. And this, I'm gonna relate it closely with the emotive land subject in Kenya. You know very well, Bildad Kagia died a poor man. Reason for that? He said, we fought for this land so that it can be given back to the people whom it belongs to. Not that this or that can take it, sort of advancing neo-colonialism. Because of that, he died a poor man and very broke at it. There are many other fighters in this country for independence and many other reforms who've died a miserable death, poor and broken to the core. Why are we as a nation dragging our feet with regards to really giving the honor our heroes deserve?
You know, the independence dream was hijacked. The independence was a dream to repossess which was ours, which had been taken away from us violently or through conmanship or through scheming by white people who had subjected us to brutal rule and oppression and all that and exploitation. Working on their farms and all that. So the dream was to repossess our country politically, to manage our own affairs, a little more complex than it had been, because then it was the Kikuyus, the Luo, everybody on their own, and the Maasai and all. Now we had a dream of one country, of all these nationalities. So we managed this country politically for the good of this country. The dream to bring back dignity that had been robbed away by the colonial masters. By returning what had been possessed. So we repossess, we get back our lands, and we use them as God had intended, that you people who are here, you Maasai, you can roam across like Kipia and everywhere else, and you know what have you. So we thought we will do it to the extent possible, because you can't reorganize everything. You can't rearrange everything. You can't take Maasai back to Uasin Gishu and so on and so forth. But we had the idea of mainly land that had been taken by settlers, coming back to Africans. This was aborted, because the people who took power were not the people who had been struggling for power. Were opportunists, mission boys, and all such a people who are propped up by the white people. The white people, it got to a point where it was obvious colonies would no longer exist. And they were going to let go for a number of reasons, which we don't have to go into. So they made sure that they planted their boys and allowed. Girls were not quite there then. So that you say you are getting independence, but nothing you have gotten. That's where the problem started. So the people who took over leadership at the point of independence did not have the interest of the people at heart. They were doing the bidding of their masters. And therefore, the central thing in the liberation, which was land, that thing was disregarded. And those like Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. And you know, human beings are just human beings. Sometimes human beings can be extremely surprising to the point of being idiotic and very stupid. The Kikuyus who hate Jaramogi and his family so much fail and refuse to see and to accept and to know, because they have been lied to, that Jaramogi fell out with Raila Odinga because of them. Which Luo land had been taken? Iko shamba ya Mjaluo ilikuwa imechukuliwa na mzungu. Inaitwa nini? Kidogo tu hapo Koru nini? Hakuna shamba ya Mjaluo ilikuwa imechukuliwa. Shamba ilikuwa imechukuliwa ni ya Mkikuyu. Sasa Jaramogi anauliza Kenyatta, wewe Kenyatta, hii watu walipigana maumau, wakaumia, wakauteswa, wakipigania hii mashamba. Sasa nyinyi mnarudi mnazichukua badala Wakikuyu wachukue. Siya Jaramogi wako sana na Kenyatta juu ya hiyo. And the Kikuyu people, even educated Kikuyus today,
Professors.
yeah, still think Jaramogi and the Luos are enemies. People who are dying for you. No Luo land was possessed by, was taken away by white people. Which one?
So when Jaramogi said not yet Uhuru, he meant it, and it is a lie.
How are we saying we are independent? The land people fought for is still in the hands of white boys and girls.
Not yet Uhuru.
The little that has been taken from the white boys and girls have been taken by black men in black skins, but white inside.
Umevaa ngozi ya kondo?
Let me tell you something. Because I'm an old man, I have to say a few things.
You need to.
In my journey, I've told you my journey has been long. Off camera, when you were at junction, we stopped somewhere. You asked me a few things.
Yeah.
I told you, we stopped the sun. When we shall continue after this. How come this, and I'll explain to you. My journey has been a painful journey. I've not had a straight journey like many Kenyans have had. Oh, you are born, you go to school, you go to primary, secondary. No, I've not. My journey has been very complex.
Wasn't a smooth voyage all through?
In one of my stops, just stop in my life, I've had stops. Yeah.
Basi inafika mwisho.
Basi inafika. Watu wanaendelea, wewe umeangushwa nje. Basi na umeacha kwa desert. Hakuna gari, unakaa hapo miaka 2. Kalahari desert. Saa nyingine unaangushwa kwa maji. That has been my journey. In one of these stages and stops in my life, I was living somewhere in Kiambu. You might care to find out that I was paying 600 shillings rent. With a family. The man who was my tenant had a house. Before he built that small house, timber tu mzuri but bigger, he was staying in a smaller one. When he put up the bigger one, not big, still timber house, slightly bigger, maybe now 2-bedroom. The one he had been staying in, he now had to to rent out. I'm the tenant. Paying how much?
600 Kenya shillings.
And don't think it is in the year 1960. It is so recent, if I mention, people will collapse. Before that, I was paying a place 600, Nyumba ya Mabati.
You've lived in that?
So when people see me, they should read my book when it comes out. Now, this old man was staying on a plot that was like 30 feet by... Those who stay around Corporation, Gishagi, Kino, they know. After independence, when those who came from what are they called? Those villages where there are villages where they had been handed into, the name I've forgotten. You know, people were removed from their homes during emergency.
Detention camps.
Not detention camps. No. There were villages. Okay. You are in one place so that it's easier to take care of you.
Yeah, to manage.
Because if you are in your own homes, you interact with Mau, you give them food and things like that, and you spy. So they had been put in some villages, and there's a name for it I've forgotten.
Controlled villages.
Somebody told Manyora, when you begin saying you have forgotten, it shows you are getting too old. No problem. We all get old. And when they came out, they were given some small land, 30 by 40 or 50. It can't even fit a big 3-4-bedroom house. Most of those, and so they have put up 1 or 2 things for rental. Geshagi, a place called Geshagi Corporation, those areas. One day he took me for a walk. And not very far from that place, we came across a coffee plantation. Huge coffee plantation. And then he told me, do you see this tree? It's huge, very huge tree. This was our home.
A tree.
And this is where my father used to sit, under this tree, with is it a bundle or whatever of sticks, those sticks, small sticks.
Yeah.
In the evening when goats are coming, one goat, he throws a stick. Another goat, if he remains with a few sticks in the hand, it means some goats are missing.
Lost.
That was his home. His stick. Those people can still point, those old ones. It's like, those are older than me. People who are now about 90 years, they are still there. That time the guy was about maybe 60 or so. So he's still a strong person. People who had been 10 years during the emergency. People who had been born around 1940, 42, 45 there. Okay? During the emergency, they were boys herding goats. That is the story we are talking about. That is the story we are talking about. Of people whose land was repossessed by the white people. And after independence, the white masters in black skins, with black skins, they took over and planted, and that's the sad reality in this country. That's what people like Agia and Jaramogi Oginga were talking about. And they were made to look foolish. People like Agia was made to look very foolish. Kenyatta mocked him.
Died in Mbotela.
Wakati wengangalia fulani yako na kitu fulani, fulani yako na kitu fulani, na wewe hapa.
Uko Mbotela.
Mwingine alikuwa na posho miliji, alikuwa ndio Kagia mara.
Rego. Also Kungu Karumba died poor. Achieng Oneko, all those.
And people were laughing at them. So that is the story of independence. That independence was hijacked. The leadership was hijacked. If you look at South Africa, for example, it is people like Steve Biko who had the really feeling for the people. If you look at Kenya, there are people like Dedan Kimathi. Nobody could allow the likes of Dedan Kimathi to push for independence to its conclusion. So you plant a few people, make them look very important, create legends out of them, hand over independence to them, and then plant greed in their mind. Let them grab as much as they can. And that's the sad story in this country and many other African countries.
Sad reality.
Not just African countries. Countries that have been colonized by the British and the French and others. Those who took over didn't have the interest of the people at all. That's why, to answer your question, they could not have handed over land to the owners because they are doing the bidding of the former masters.
Trenching insights from you, Prof. But then again, we have President Ruto in town. And I want to understand if he stands a chance to rewrite that bad precedents and history we've made as a country with regards to honoring our heroes. The Kalenjin community is still out here asking for closure. They just want the remains of Koitalel Arab Samoei. The late Mukami, spouse to the late Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi, all she asked from the state a few months to her death was, please show me where you buried my husband.
They can't.
She never got that closure.
Is
that too much of a task for the government to do?
These people were put in place to perpetuate Muzunguism. They were not supposed to end colonial rule. They were put there specifically to ensure you perpetuate it.
To this date?
And there was an oath between them, an understanding. Because they are part of them, they are not part of us. The leaders in Africa are not part of the people. They are part of the Western colonial past. And they are there to ensure colonialism in its new forms. And it keeps changing. It was direct, then it became indirect, then now it is coming in various forms, all the things you see coming up, which I don't want to mention.
Should there be a Manyora's presidency in the near future, would you show Kenyans where our hero was buried? Kimathi,
Of course. It will take just a day.
Remains of Koitalel will be...
You know, even the word Mau Mau was supposed to have been a banned. It was supposed to be, the Mau Mau was supposed to be a banned thing. Banned in this country until Kibaki is president. Mau Mau peke yake.
We have the capacity.
If we want to give the remains of Dedan Kimathi with the modern science, it's just a day.
The graveyard, ni hapa.
It is modern science. People are doing excavations for things that happened 15, 20,000 years ago. And my friend, science is enabling us to rebuild the past through archaeology. What is identifying a grave of 19... When was it?
52.
The 50,
Thereabouts.
there. What are we talking about? That is something 1 minute, and the science has given this is a grave.
Honoring our heroes.
Yeah. We can't because there has never been that intention. If I was the president, I will change that history. I will write, I will do it, everything will have to be. The black man and the Kenyan man will come first.
How about our legends? not been dignified at their time of death. Talk of people like, you know, singer Daudi Kabaka, Leonard Mambo Mbotela the other day, people questioning why he's going to be buried in a cemetery.
We are a country that is focused on stealing. There is no honor. There are no values in this country because there is focus is only on one thing: money, stealing money, and celebrating those who have stolen. There's no room for anything in this country. Kuiba na kuonyesha zile umeiba. Kwa ile nyumba unajenga, iko na room mpaka hata kuna ingine hata ukikaa miaka ngapi utawahi kanyaga ndani. Niona gavana mwingine amejenga nyumba hata. Inaonyesha pia the size of the brain.
How so?
It shows the size of your brain. If you steal billions upon billions, which even some of it you go and hide in places where now here Dubai is a new place.
Yeah.
If you die, nobody even knows the money is there. It's gone. That is the size of the brain you have.
Cayman's
in a Sani Abacha. The brain of Sani Abacha. You have that level of brain, this tiny, it can't fit here in the fingernails. You are stealing money to make people die, children die, because they can't access healthcare. Kenyan children are going to school with jiggers in their toes in the 21st century. 25 years in the 21st, into the 21st century. Jiggers. Dudu kwa miguu ya watoto wa Kenya sababu unaiba pesa. Wamama wanataka kuzaa wanakufa wakizaa kwa sababu unaiba pesa. Money you don't need. It shows the size of your brain. It's a tiny little brain. So we have all our concentration and focus, one, on stealing public resources. Piling money you never need because your brain is this tiny. And measuring your success in terms of very useless things like what you look like, what you have dressed in, your car, your house.
Designer watch.
It's stupid things. It shows the level of primitivity in you and in us all. We are so primitive, we are so down the ladder that the things we do, people just laugh at us. So for that reason, because all national energy is on stealing and showing off what you have stolen, we have no time even for self-respect. Even to celebrate the people who give us some pride. There are countries where somebody, when they get gold, when they come, the country comes to a standstill.
National holiday.
Yes. Because of the honor it brings to the country. When that song is being sung, dun, 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 Kenya, the flag, I feel like tears roll down my cheeks. That moment of pride, being a Kenyan. Then this person becomes just another beggar in the streets. you know.
With a PhD.
Yeah. We are just joking. We are jokers. Let me give you another example. When Kabaka died.
Daudi Kabaka?
Daudi Kabaka. He comes from my place, by the way.
You knew him?
Kabaka was my personal friend. In fact, I used to run a joint. He was dropped in the joint on a Friday. He was dropped in the joint on the Friday by somebody.
Your joint?
And that somebody told me, let him have something, I'll come and pay. The following day, he passed my joint and told me he was going to play somewhere music. And the next day I was told he was dead.
Oh, sad.
So naturally, I was among the few people who were there to organize for his burial or his burial arrangement. My chairman was the late Dr. Sobi Mulindi.
What?
We used to work with him at the University of Nairobi, psychologist. Then Moi summoned Sobi Mulindi after a few days and gave him an assignment to go out of the country. So I became the chairman. I'm the one who buried Daudi Kabaka. And I'm saying this in public.
So noble of you.
We almost buried him in Langata.
Cemetery?
Yeah, because at home he didn't even have a house and there was nobody. He didn't have quite a serious family and what have you. There was nobody. I went on TV, I remember national TV. I was almost crying.
Let's give this man dignity.
Yes. And that's how Moi gave us 500,000. Gumos brought some money from Moi, I think. I don't know how much. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that during the day of the fundraiser at KICC, a delegation came from Tanzania. They were crying. They're saying, You are fundraising for Kabaka, and even the people are not here. Fundraising for Kabaka. The guy said, in Tanzania, people are wearing, what do these people when they are mourning? Mourning Daudi Kabaka. Watu wamevaa hizi vitu wanavaa black hapa hivi. That is Kenya for you. In Russia, an artist is a god. He's a national hero.
A footballer.
Yeah. We've destroyed ourselves. Nothing matters in this country apart from money. You either have money, lots of it, bags of money, or you are nothing.
How sad for us as a country. It remains to be seen whether you'll tap into nuggets of wisdom regarding our subject of the day from Professor Herman Manyora. Until we get to do this again sometime early next week, do enjoy the rest of your viewing. I'm Richard Mwenja. Always a pleasure to have you on board.